Welcome back, folks. Terrifying sounds come from strange places, but none so much as the forests of Minnesota. Come on in for a weird look at some famous Bigfoot vocals from our friends in America's Great White North, along with a brand new Quasi Theory and a Camping Tips for Stupids. All wrapping up with the most requested real Bigfoot encounter of all time. It should be a very fun night full of Bigfooting, folks. And now, here's the host whose beard has a waiting list full of visitors, the Reverend Jeff Kelly.
Welcome everybody back. That's right. Season 6, Voices in the Night. And I am the host of this mess, the Reverend Jeff Kelly, directly off of Expedition. That's right. We were gone. We are back. And it is going to be an interesting talk about that this evening. But first up, we're going to talk about some newsy type stuff because that's what we do here. That's right. We're going to be talking about Minnesota tonight. Minnesota, don't you know? As Jonathan reminded me earlier. That's right. It's not Wisconsin. That's Minnesota. Don't you know? Hey, apparently it was like a giant snake. Did this fella capture the video of the Ogopogo? I don't know. The video is erratic and sprinkled with 4-letter expletives and captured while a lush Pink Floyd tune is playing in the background. Amid many distractions were the glimpses of the smartphone captured movie of something definitively long and dark making its way across Okanagan Lake. I don't think I said that right. You wouldn't be blamed for spotting a few red flags in the video of the alleged Ogopogo sighting that was then taken last week. So there you have it, folks. Global News has it on their website. That's right. Yep. Did he catch the Ogopogo? Yeah, probably not. All right. Sydney, Australia had some interesting news this week. Apparently, the Australian man bought a package of small pink animal hairs at an auction, only to discover they belonged to the extinct Tasmanian tiger. That's right. A small package bought at an auction by an amateur Sydney naturalist has been confirmed to contain rare hairs belonging to the extinct Tasmanian tiger. Chris Repberg bought the mystery hairs when they were put up for auction in the UK in 2016 as part of a collection believed to belong to a famous British botanist, David Bellamy. It's like all these famous explorers and stuff from the 40s and the 50s, the 60s and the 70s. You know, they're all dying now, and their collections are where? Nobody really knows. Mr. Repberg bought the small envelope labeled Thylacendius. I can't read that Latin. That wasn't my job. With the aim of investigating the true extinction date of the carnivorous marsupial. That's right. He created a crowdfunding campaign to raise money he needed to buy the microscope, but then was given a helping hand by the government agency responsible for scientific research. That's right. Colin Vitt. I think he needs an extra consonant in there somewhere, but he works at the microscopic laboratory at Geelong, said he read about the hairs online in the article and he thought that he should help. So there you go. You never know what you're going to find at auction. Buy that envelope. It probably has 1,600 spoogers in it, but you never know. It might have thylacine hair. Wait, thylacine, those are fish. Never mind. Scales. Northern New York, the NerdCon includes the Ghost Hunters, Benders, Jurassic Park Chief, a Bigfoot panel, all coming up September 15 in Canton. That's right. Bigfoot, Darth Vader, superheroes, and ghost hunters will all gather when the Northern New York NerdCon makes its debut September 15 at the Canton Recreational Pavilion at 90 Lincoln Street. So God bless you, Northern New York. Nerd out. Spread the Bigfoot love, get out in the forest and find him, because that's how it's done. Apparently, the giant gathering in North Carolina last weekend ahead of the hurricane, and God bless you people. I'm praying for you, to any of the gods out there that you people worship that will handle that type of thing. Poseidon, Neptune. I'm sure those are the guys that were supposed to handle this. See that all of our squatchers in North Carolina and South Carolina and their families are safe. But 45,000 people, they said, gathered in North Carolina over the weekend. I didn't think it was going to be that big, but apparently it was huge. And congratulations to them, because outside of Willow Creek, that might gather like 800 people on a random weekend during the Bigfoot days. I don't know of anybody that has an event that large. I mean, most of the people that are at the Willow Creek deal are actual Willow Creek residents. But yeah, they literally brought in like 45,000 people over the weekend doing different things. And I was watching people in the Bigfoot 911 group where they were talking about, yeah, we painted some rocks with Bigfoots on them and just kind of left them all around town, hoping people would find them. And other people cut Bigfoot out of leather, and other people cut Bigfoot out of wood and put their names on it or put their Twitter on it or their Instagram on it and just kind of left them all over town. And I was like, well, thanks for littering, dick. But at the same time, it's kind of cool. So congratulations to you guys, the events that put on there, because that's hard. And nobody got shot. Nobody got shot at the Bigfoot event. I mean, imagine that 45,000 people gathered in North Carolina and nobody died. It's a miracle. Apparently, Bigfoot hunters in Montana are ready to kill him one. I don't know if this is a combination of Jesus Bigfoot or is at Merle Haggard on a Friday night. Not really all that sure. The Clarkson Fire Service is in great need of some updated equipment, so they're having a fundraiser to help raise much needed funds. The handheld radios they need cost around $1,500 each, so they need to raise enough money to purchase 10 new radios. There's enough bureaucracy in our government that they can't afford 15 grand for new radios for the fire department. Oh God. You people should be marching in the streets up to your city hall, your state government. Anyhow, let me get off of the politics here, box here for a moment. Here's what you need to know. It's a Bigfoot hunt Saturday, September 22nd from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. at the Headwaters Ranch. Woo! They've even got a place that's... Yeah, there you go. Once you get there, follow the signs that lead you to the round barn. What you should bring: good shoes for walking in the woods at night, warm clothing, a flashlight, and your wallet. That's right, cash only. I don't know. How do I feel about this? The fire department, is it this cultural appropriation of our squatching? Aren't they supposed to not do that or something? I don't know. But more power to them. I hope they get their money for it. Hey, in the Supreme Court of British Columbia, look at that name directly in the center. And what does it say? Todd Standing Schmanding. That's right. What is this? This is the reasons for judgment. That's right. This is the answer that the British Columbia Minister of Forest Lands and Natural Resources and Operations citation. This is what the judge said. And what it all came down to in the end was Todd Standing gets to pay court costs. That's right. No, your Blinky and non-Winky did not fool anybody. Your devil video did not fool anybody. Your man in a Chewbacca costume running backwards down a hill didn't fool anybody. Your stand-up panda bear didn't fool anybody. And your screaming in the night at red flares didn't fool anyone. So stop saying you have evidence of Bigfoot. It's not been proven in court. It can't be proven in court, and it won't be proven in court. Mr. Standing, stop it. Just stop it. Sorry. All right. Speaking of stopping shit, oh my God, this is the third Psychic Sasquatch spiritual retreat. Amazing high consciousness gathering of interspecies communications and interdimensional shamanism. I don't even have the intellectual prowess to deal with this right now, but you people Seriously. Enablers, enabling enablers. I understand that there's a mystical shamanist to the native culture that goes along with Sasquatch. I was raised in it. I get it. Okay. But anyhow, there we have it, folks. Yeah, we are on it tonight. Minnesota. That's where we will be going. That was the news. Yeah. So we went up the hill. We went up on the mountain, up to the infamous kill site there in the Sierras, the Sierra Kills campsite, and we took our time up there. It was only the two of us. It was just Justin and I, and we weren't up there to hunt or anything. We were literally just going up to ride the trails, look for tracks, look for evidence, see what kind of animal life was up there, because neither one of us had been up on the mountain for over a year now. So we decided to go ahead and put ourselves in the middle of it and camp. And there at that location, this is the time of year that it should be active up there. This is where the last of the food is. The berries are ripe up there. And, we were expecting to at least put ourselves in a location that would be conducive to seeing or hearing some of the animals that were up there. We had spent all day literally riding the back forest trails of the Plumas National Forest, so much so that it was like over 300 miles by the time the day was up. Just doing animal surveys, checking and looking for tracks, finding bear circuits. We must have seen 24 hybrid blacktails and what I actually thought were full-blooded blacktails, because they had black tails the size of a dollar bill hanging off of them. They looked a little strangely different than the rest of the deer we saw. We must have seen a dozen and a half each of the mountain quail and the mountain grouse. Just those animals were just dumber than hell. I swear, I mean, we roll up on them in the truck. I roll the window down. We stick the camera out. We're filming it. It's looking at us. I mean, I could have thrown a rock at it and killed it. I could have gotten out the truck. The truck would have driven off. I could have smashed it with a rock. I mean, they are that freaking dumb up there. I can just imagine a Bigfoot just picking up a stick. Oh, look, mountain grouse. Dinner. I mean, I really don't think it takes much for them to eat up there this time of year. There is turkey up there as well. We saw red-tailed hawks, Cooper hawks, owls, more rodents than we could count. And when I say rodents, I do mean gray squirrels and chipmunks and ground squirrels and, I guess people call those groundhogs, whatever. Just all kind of rodent activity. The deer population was thick. We did not find the herd. And when I say the herd, this time of year, there's the herd of 1,000 that just kind of roam up there, eating everything they can before it starts to snow. And we didn't run into them, but we didn't go over 9,000 feet either, because I don't really feel all that well up above 6,000 feet. So after 300 miles of riding the trails and everything, we literally found Zorth. We come around a corner and Justin's looking up on the hill for deer, and all I see is this chocolate brown humanoid shaped thing with a curled hand. And I was like, whoa. My brain wanted to make it a Bigfoot. It really, really did. I thought a Bigfoot was about to step out in front of the truck, and I didn't have a camera running, and I was PO'd about it. And I immediately grabbed my camera up out of my pocket that I had it, and the camera was running as it went around the next corner. And damn it, if it wasn't a dead pine tree. But it was, Zorth has been found in the Sierras. So apparently he's in his tree form right now, because he wouldn't talk to me, and he wouldn't allow any pictures or video to be taken of him. We got back up to camp just about right before sunset. And the animals were moving around in camp. We had deer walk literally right down into camp. We're sure there was a bear around. There was so much signs of it. We were sitting on one of the only active water sources left on that side of the mountain as well, so we knew there was a bunch of activity down in there. But just dead silent. And usually the first nights really are. I mean, it wasn't silent. It was so silent it was loud. It was the sounds of the forest and the wind and the birds and everything were so loud that it really almost wasn't quiet. Got down into the high 40s for a few hours. Got a little chilly. But we got up the next day, did a bunch of riding around off road, and hit the highway and came back. And it was a really good short trip up there. There's been some activity that was reported up towards Quincy. We talked to quite a few people down at Bassett's and took some reports from some of the staff down there, and a couple of the dirt bike riders that were coming through. They were going on a 4-day quest to the Oregon border and back on dirt bikes through the mountain passes. So that's got to be a real interesting trip. I might have to look into doing something like that because I love doing that kind of adventure. Anyhow, so that's how the expedition turned out. The fires were pushing the animals around up there, but it was just so quiet that night. It was a dead moon. There was absolutely no moon. But like I said, there was just so much animal activity. There's so much easy food on the mountain right now. I can imagine that the Sasquatch are still up there. And with that, that's your expedition update for this week. That's right. The Sierras is where we were this week. All righty then. You know what time it is? That makes it time for our Quasi Theory of the Week. And Mr. Dean tells us that it's a doozy. So let's sit back, grab a beer or your favorite imbibement or inebriant, and enjoy. And now, Quasi Theories from a Quasi Scientist with your host, Dean Cooper.
The Woo Hypothesis Redux. My very first Quasi Theory was revealed as part of the Squatchers Lounge podcast on October 7th, 2015, almost 3 years ago. That podcast is titled Man Cast the Same Bigfoot Tracks 300 Miles Apart, Squatchers Lounge Podcast Season 3, Episode 40. It was a good episode and is well worth watching or rewatching for us long-term Squatchers Loungers. The title of the theory was the Woo Hypothesis. It is high time to readdress that hypothesis. My motivation for doing so has been my rereading of all of John Keel's books. He's got a lot of big, hairy, red, glowing-eyed, apish creatures popping out of, going back into, and otherwise associated with UFOs in those books. Much of the following has been cut, pasted, edited, and otherwise rewritten from that first Quasi Theory, as opposed to my usual method of ripping off Wikipedia. Come on, cut me a break. I nearly always say when I'm quoting somebody else. Anyways, that first Quasi was inspired by the brouhaha over a certain individual who claimed to have observed Sasquatch emerging from and returning to what he called portals. These Sasquatches also exhibited a variety of what are commonly called paranormal phenomena, the which phenomena have come to be termed woo. Termed woo around these parts anyways, and woo as in spooky, as in woo. Now, I am by nature not argumentative. I always assume, as a working hypothesis, that people who have observed and reported Sasquatch engaging in paranormal activities, or woo, are not lying about their observations until proven otherwise. Allow me to interject here that personally, I think that there are almost certainly is or are one or more species of unidentified upright walking apes running about the planet, genus or genera being unknown. I will now present my hypothesis concerning areas where Sasquatch have been exhibiting woo. Simply put, the hypothesis is this. These places have a bad case of the fairies. That is to say, the good folk, the gentry, the Elshi, as in Banshee and Pictshi, the Celtic terms for these annoying buggers. Those that take an animal form are called pukas. Just as in the case of our Bigfoot, every continent, every older culture has stories about non-physical entities that can delude humans and sometimes manifest a seeable form, make audible noises, produce smellable odors, induce emotions in the observer, and generally make things go bump in the night. John Keel proposed that such entities are hostile to humans and come from some other dimensions with naughty intentions. I think they are perfectly natural entities that occasionally like to flabbergast us. The form they assume is taken from our minds and the current surrounding culture, as are their actions, which is why much of what they do is inexplicable, since much of what is in our minds and our cultures is equally inexplicable, at least to a rational mind. I personally have occasionally run into some of these woo critters. My experiences with them are described in several other quasi theories I've done. Now, where do these creatures come from? They come from wherever subatomic particles pop out from and disappear back to, where photons that are quantum entangled talk to each other. A higher order Riemannian phase space, of which our world is a multiply connected subset of that higher order. In other words, the astral plane. That said, any of these beings that have the time to waste on dorking about with us humans are of a low order and not very bright. Some are quite territorial and radiate anger and hostility. I chased one around the basement of an old house once. They back off when confronted. At least they back off when I confront them. I don't know about you sissies. They don't do portals, but they can sure make you see one, along with demons, guardian Ewoks, mind-speaking forest people, or what have you. They're the sylphs, the naiads, the dryads of Greek mythology, and the lower-order devas of Hinduism. Sometimes these days they're called nature spirits. So in conclusion, if the Bigfoot you see comes from a portal, that ain't a Bigfoot, it's a bloody fairy. You may read the text of this hypothesis on my blog, My Blatherings, at bydean.com. That's BHAIDIN.com. Or you can listen to it on my YouTube channel. There's a ton of Dean Coopers there. Just search and scroll until you see the guy who looks like an old wizard.
That's right. We have our own wizard, and his name is Dean Cooper. Well, there you have it, folks. That's this week's Quasi Theory. Let's see what Camping Tips for Stupid has for us going on this week. That's right. This is actually from last week, but I wasn't here last week, so we're going to do it this week. So, doggies, here it is.
Camping Tips for Stupids. Tip number 70. Sometimes you just want to get away from people and go camping and relax. But sometimes even camping isn't relaxing because of all the gas generators, barking dogs, screaming kids, and that one weird guy named Jeb with a black tooth who keeps asking to borrow your axe just to throw it at the kids. You need to go stealth camping. Now, I'm not saying stealth camping can be illegal in certain places, but it can be illegal in certain places. But it is a great way to get the F away from everything else that's bothering you. Just be sure to be stealthy and shit. Be like ninja. Be like camping ninja. Concho-san. Military surplus gear and camouflage tents and hammocks, headlamps and flashlights with the blue light options are just the basics. Having a night vision monocular to scan your environment will keep your campsite secure. Digging a Dakota fire hole so your flames are hidden will keep others walking nearby from seeing your firelight. And finally, stealing a sleeping predator's cloaking gauntlet will hide you from Bigfoots and their researchers. Just saying. These are just some of the tricks and tips to stealth camping. This has been Camping Tips for Stupids. Remember to spay and neuter your idiot population.
There you go. Spay and neuter your idiot population. Thank you so much. Gone camping, sir. Oh my God in heaven. That's just terrific. I love it. All right. Hey, it's that time of the show where we say hello to you people out there in podcast land. So let's give it a yodel and see who's in there. Lance Windsor. That's right. He was checking in early with Natalie Smith. I hope you're doing well tonight. Let's see here. Cheryl Willen says, how you doing? We're saying, how you doing? Right back at her. There's a Spike Jeff and a Gin in the house. Sam Squanch Rivera, how you doing there, pal? Along with the Squatch Box. And I'm sure Christopher, just pour some ketchup on them vegetables. You'll be just fine. We're all praying for Squatch Box's son who's joined the Army. We wish him good luck and safety. And, hoorah. Thank you for your service, son. Let's see here. Who else is in the mix? Roy Munson. Anus. Is that like your last name is Munson Anus? Munson hyphen Anus? Or are you saying that you are an anus? Because I know I don't want to get Munson out here in the middle of nowhere. Let's see here. Hello there, Shane Barber. So glad you're with us as well. I know that there's a whole bunch of people coming up here that came on board a little later. There's Timothy McCune. How you doing there, champ? I'm glad you're with us tonight. Don Reif, that's right, the Viking himself. I'm so glad you are back. Man, Redding, I saw that was the other side was on fire now. Good Lord, man. Be safe, brother. I hope you and yours are okay. Dean Cooper, that's right, our quasi theorist himself. He's right there hanging out in the room, swinging his tool around. Keith Harden's in the house. There, Life and Times of JCM was in the house, but I also know that Gone Camping was back, and that's the same creepy guy that's Jevin Moore. Hey, buddy, not creepy. I shouldn't have said creepy. Creepy is not the right word for it. I just can't put my tongue on it. Oreo Cream Rocks. Hey, yes, it does. So glad you are with us as well. There's the man, Huck Outdoors. I'm so glad you are back. I'm glad. Check it out with us later. I actually won a package from Nomadic from Huck Outdoors. I'll be receiving one of their boxes in a few weeks. Maybe I'll open it on the air. We shall see. Or maybe I'll just do a live broadcast when I do open it and we'll see what was in it. Hot diggity dog diggity. Oh, what you do to me. That's right. I remember that song. Glad you're in the house with us tonight. Ricky Perez. That's right. My little cousin, Ricky Perez. You know the guy? He drives an Impala. That's right. His own bags. Yeah, you know him. That's right. He's out there watching us with us tonight. I know how racist that was. It's okay. I'm not white, really, so I can't really be racist. Karen Robb. That's right. I can say racist things, but I can't really be racist. I think that's how it works. I'm not sure. I'm half Native American. Can I really be racist? I don't know. All of you people are like foreigners. Donald Fuller. Hey, I don't think I've heard of that name for a while. If he's back, congratulations. If you just found us, so glad you're here. There it is. Matthew Gaines. What happened to the Reverend? You dropped the Reverend Matthew Gaines? Obsidian Radio. There's the man. Squatchy Inc. Our boy. That's right. Our old pal, Wes Losner. That's right. We're gonna say it wrong every time we introduce him in the future. I'm probably Brown Dwarf. There he is. That's right. He's a Northern California researcher, I believe. Let's see here. There's more people than this. I know there are some down here at the bottom. I'm getting down towards the bottom, people. So if you haven't said hi, I don't know you're here. Can Squanch. There you are. Hi there. Hello, back at you from Northern California there. Nesho Bequai Baldwin. I hope I said that right. Nesho Bequai? I don't know. Otherwise, spell it out for me. It's phonetic, I guess. Gone Trapping. Hey, back at you. So glad you're here with us. There's the Reverend Matthew Gaines. Now I'm confused. So do we have a Matthew Gaines and a Reverend Matthew Gaines? I'm not really sure. It's kind of strange. Chris Rico. Hello there, sir. We're glad you're with us as well. I saw Hunt and Fish Play Hawaii. Yo, aloha, back at you. Man, I want to come to Hawaii. Do I need a sponsor? I'm not sure. Like, do I need a passport? Like, isn't Hawaii like a different country? I'm not really sure. I'm not that dumb. I know Hawaii is not a different country. I'm just messing with you. But I would like to come over there, man. That'd be fantastic. I want to go fishing. I so want to fish Hawaii. That's the only thing I really want to come over there for. I'm not a tourist. I just want to come and fish. I'm sorry, got off track a little bit. Back to Bigfooting. We're right here at the bottom of the list. If you guys haven't said hi to me, I don't know you're here. Dave Jackson, there he is. He got in. All right. Well, there you go. There's only one of you. All right. Well, there you go. Reverend Matthew Gaines is back in the building. And there is Gone Camping. I'm sure our girl Starshine will be catching the show in the flip flop. She must be working or not feeling well. I hope you feel better, darling. All right, dude. Yeah, fish and then go hunting for the little people in Hawaii. I'm down with that. Like, I literally went looking for pixies in Ireland with my drunk uncle. It's absolutely crazy. I don't know if anybody wants to do that. All right, folks, we do have some actual Bigfoot stuff to talk about tonight. That's right. We're talking about Minnesota, don't you know? Apparently, you know, people in the Great White North here to us, they've got some creepy stuff going on. So let's take a listen. Now, this is a Bigfoot howl attributed to the horse, not as in horse animal, horse as in, oh crap, I lost my voice from screaming at hookers all night. The horse howler in Minnesota. I've got a 3 examples from one side of it and another example from a different file. So let's take a listen to them. The first one is just unedited as usual. It's about a minute long, so let's take a listen. I mean, I don't know what that is, but that's just creepy as hell. Whatever it is sounds like unconsolable, like something died on it or it's dying. I'm not sure which, but I did some enhancements on it. I did have to do multiple enhancements, so it'll get louder and less loud in places where there were people noises, and you guys know how I have to rearrange some of this stuff. So it's not them, it's actually me doing that, trying to enhance it for you. So let's take a listen to the enhancement. Then I was able to take just one of those howls and just enhance it to the best that it can be brought out. And we'll give a listen to that one here. Yeah, I'm having just the impossible time trying to identify what the heck that animal is. So that was the first example out of Minnesota that I found. Now this next one up here, again, now that it's a minute 21 unedited of it. Let's take a listen to it. It's just, again, possible Bigfoot howls out of Minnesota from the year 2009.
How many times did you hear it, Cassie? Okay. You hear that? You hear that fucking shit? And that's weird that one thing in there gone. But it sounded like it's over by fungus, but it was dying. Oh my god. Fuck. It ain't them dogs. It's not dogs. It's not a dog. The dogs are just quiet. Fucking human. I think the dogs are gonna be going off if it was like something else. Like a deer or a fucking bear. Where is it coming from? Like Thunder's Lake? I don't know. Fuck that shit. This is right by Bob Nettles. Or fucking Todd's. I don't know. I just picked up. Just got the one to try. Oh my god. How many times did you hear that, Frank? Yeah. I didn't know what that was.
Now this went on for like several minutes, 8-9 minutes. It went on, and I was able to enhance the one howl that we were able to hear the beginning of this and the first sample of it. So let's take a listen to that. So then, a little later down in the video, the guy starts doing his own calls back because it kind of went quiet to see if it would if it would bring in a response to it, and this is basically the interaction that he had with whatever that is.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Just the calls back as my dad made a howl in his fucking house. Oh my god, I'm fucking really scared. Holy fucking shit. What's that?
I mean, these are people who obviously live out there. I mean, it's not something that they're used to hearing coming out of the woods behind them. And again, a little later in the video, he's basically just calling back and forth. You want to talk about interspecies communication? This is about as close as I think we can get with a Sasquatch.
Fucking believe this shit. What is that? The bear in the commodity. Hike. Hey, what is that? I don't know. Never heard that.
Now, I have a really big Bigfoot call, and I impress a lot of people with it, but even I can't produce that kind of volume as that has. Now, the last example we have tonight comes out of St. Louis County, Minnesota. I got about a 30-second cut. It's really kind of crazy. It's about 4 minutes in all of them, and they're all already currently enhanced. It was one of those files where somebody had already done the work for me. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 examples of this, all coming out of the same location. I believe it's the same event, probably over the same night. The first one, the vocalization starts for 32 seconds. So let's take a listen to that one. It's what a lot of people call as an example of the train whistle, the train whistle type call. Woo! Now this next one goes on for an entire minute 8, and it is just as impressive. Like I said, the recording level, the distance of the animal, it all sounds like it's the same animal on the same night. So take a listen to this one. They remind me of some of the ones that were out there that were like sing-songy, almost like whale songs in the forest. I mean, it's really, really eerie. This next set goes on, and I couldn't cut it. I mean, there was just nowhere to cut it. It literally goes on for 2 minutes and 32 seconds, but it's such an example that I really think it needs to be played on air. So let's take a listen to that part of it as well. Yeah, I have no idea what that is. I'll admit I've never been to the deep forests of Minnesota. However, I've never heard any. I don't know what it is. I have no clue what that is, and there are several of them. Whatever they are, none of them sound happy. So I feel for whatever you people have in Minnesota going on in the forest. One last example, a short one here out of that same file, about 20 seconds. Let's take a listen to that one. And that's when it convinced me that it wasn't a moose or an elk or something crazy like that. Take a listen to that one again, because that was the. I don't know what else they can do this with. I'm stammering at this point. There is something definitely going on in the woods in St. Louis County, Minnesota. That is for sure. And with that, my friends, that is going to do it for this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. I want to thank each and every one of you for being out there tonight live, watching us in the lounge. I'm so glad you guys are out there. If you're watching it in the archive, we are here live Wednesday nights. 8 p.m. Pacific, specifically at Pacific time, 8 p.m. That's right. You can find us at facebook.com/groups/S-Lounge or find the fan page at S-Lounge Podcast. Anywhere you want to find it, you can find it just like that. We do have the absolute most requested Bigfoot campfire story, or I'm sorry, real Bigfoot encounter of all times coming up for you to end tonight's program. And we will see you right back here next Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Thanks for being here. I'm the Reverend Jeff Kelly, and may the Squatch be with you. This is Real Bigfoot Encounters with Reverend Jeff. This week's story comes from August of 2012. An anonymous poster left their story in our comments. This is that story. This is the first time I have shared this story to anyone but my close friends and wanted to do it here. I grew up on a large ranch in a very rural area. My father was very successful. We had money, and this was his true passion, as it being outdoors, and he wanted to pass his love on to me. The area was beautiful, but also incredibly wild. I learned to use a gun at a young age because I may need to use it if all other precautions fail. It was like teaching a child to call 911, only in this case, it was firearms instead. We moved in when I was 2, and by the age of 4 or 5, I considered Sasquatch a part of life, no different than raccoons. They are around, but nothing was there to fear. I would see one most often when looking out my bedroom window from the age of 5 on. My mother loved my father and dealt with the area because, well, she hated that area. She had grown up in the city. She had one option to avoid boredom, and that was learning how to garden. I remember watching one day as a Sasquatch came into the garden and took her crops. It was funny because she didn't care. The idea was to pass the time and not harvest the crops at all. I enjoyed fishing from the time that I was 8, and I would fish from 3 in the afternoon to sometimes 6 or 7 at night, depending on the time of year. I also looked for Indian relics I still have. I had a small area where I found arrowheads. I say small because it was bordered a ridge that I just never crossed, and neither did my dad. He told me, look at all that's in front of us. If we go there, we'll miss something that's right in front of us. From 10 years on, I could tell that something was watching me while I fish. I think before I just thought that it was my mom. I knew it wasn't a bear because they won't watch, and they will either become aggressive or run away or go bad about their business knowing you're there. We also had a caretaker my father hired just to keep tabs on bear and mountain lion. He lived in the guest house, and it was his job literally to just hike and drive a 4x4 while looking for animal signs. I was not afraid, as if they wanted to harm me, they could have done it long ago. I never released what I had caught. I'd throw the fish back towards the woods or leave it in a pile on a large rock near my favorite spot. They did get used to my gifts, and I did start to feel like I had to bring something every time I fished. Often it was some garlic or corn on the cob. I went away to college, and at that time of school, before my first trip home, it was the longest I'd spent away from the ranch. It was October, and I missed fishing, so that was the first thing I wanted to do. I grabbed a few ears of corn and canned peaches and left them on the rock. I caught 3 fish and left them all in the general area. I did the same thing the next day, and on the third day, something I will never forget happened. I was fishing lower down on the river by a small inlet. A Sasquatch appeared and just kept looking at me. There was also one up to my left, and I became scared and wondered if I crossed some line that I shouldn't have. I did not know what to do, but eventually it became clear they wanted something. I was scared out of my mind. Finally they moved, and I felt I had to leave. As I did, they started to move, making me follow a certain path home. It was on this path where the most amazing thing happened. I was very scared, and I thought they were all around me, and my mind was thinking that they want me out of here. They never did this before. Could a grizzly or a wolf be stalking me, and this is their way of saying go? As I came around one bend, there was a very old Sasquatch that appeared to be waiting. I was very scared, and garbled, it said, "Friend who speak white man," and tried to smile. It motioned me to come to an area where there was an arrowhead and a spearhead. This put me at ease, and he slowly approached only after he knew I calmed down. He patted me gently on the shoulder. I sat down at this point, and he showed me a very large wound on his leg that had healed. He said in a very drawn-out way that my gifts of food helped when he was injured, and he was unable to easily get food on his own. And I never bothered them or tried to disrupt the peace of that area. He also told me that his people were of an ancient race. He could speak some of our language because he heard it so much over the years. He was the kind of one who would follow and listen to men, as he was interested in their ways. After stories of trading with man were told in him many, many years ago, he can make the sounds in this way, but not many others, because now all learn that they must make sounds like the animals around them. He said that his people live with nature and believe in not fighting or harming with other life. And that was because their size. In the past, ancient people had wanted to control them and use them to fight other people over the land. I could not understand another portion where he talked about them fearing man, the reason being that man controlled fire. He said when he left, he was worried something was going to happen to me, but now he knew I started my travels to learn about the rest of the world. He then said he and his people must now leave this area. A town was growing in an area where people had not been before, where there had only been that ranch. They had to hide far too often now because more and more people did not allow them enough time to secure food. He said they could taste it in the water, that the area could no longer be shared. I asked him his name, and he said, Tumak. His eyes were what I remember as what they were kind of light gray. I don't speak this way, but the only description I can use is he was an old soul. They were almost hypnotic, and this was the only time I felt anything but peace. As he explained to me, this comes from my sensing he knows much of the natural world. And while man's desires this knowledge, he can't comprehend it, and this leads to a clouded mind. This did not disturb me. What did was the fact that he said this was important. Not all like him are of a peaceful nature. Those with the red eyes, he said, those with eyes like blood are not peaceful, and man must be very wary. They will remain in the deep parts of the areas while those like him populate an area. But with them gone, these others would soon enter the area and not want peace with the others. He said his people are smarter than those he described, and because of that, they feared them and did not bother with them. He said to now be wary of the woods, as I might think nothing has changed. The others would not consider me a friend, and as to this, it is not their way. I asked where they would go, and he said to a place with much water as this allows them to know when anyone comes into the area with warning as to hide. It seemed like 10 minutes had passed, but when I looked up, it was almost dusk. He sensed this as well and sent the mind. It takes much longer to understand the old world, and this is why time seems to disappear. The mind is so overwhelmed and preoccupied to notice other things on a subconscious level. I asked him if I could offer anything more, and he pointed to the fishing line in my tackle case and then the other pieces of string of twine that were part of my pack. I offered the whole pack, and he seemed very grateful. I offered my Swiss Army knife, which was declined because he said it was too small for them to make use of. I then offered my belt and the knife, and he was very leery of taking it, believed it was in too importance and something I would need for protection when in these woods. I told him this wasn't true, as I had money, and he accepted it. He thanked me and left, saying we were brothers, always bound by our love for nature and maintaining its peacefulness. The following summer, my recently retired father said he needed to speak with me. Our chicken coop was ransacked, and my mom did not care for it one bit. She said she had had enough of the ranch and couldn't accept it any longer. And it was supposed to be what they had wanted, but in fact, it hadn't been. A haven in the wilderness, an oasis for her to avoid, and my father's way of having the wild at his fingertips. Now it was the biggest house in a rural, boring area, becoming dominated by new developments and cul-de-sacs. She was not going to deal with the construction of a new Walmart pushing displaced bears and cougar towards the house. She indulged me on Sasquatch, but never really embraced the idea openly in front of us. She wanted him to sell it, and she wouldn't hear anything less. He wanted my blessing to sell my childhood home, and I gave it, as it allowed them to go the beach house on the log cabin route, making them both happy. The ranch where I grew up is still there. A condition of the sale was that our caretaker would get the guest house and a piece of land and the right to guide hunting trips through the area, which has been set aside and will be preserved. We still talk about it, and he says that they are pretty much gone. He said you get a glimpse of one every once in a while, and then you could sit in the same spot for a year and not get another. They're not in the same area for a reason, and when they are, it's just for food or some other reason as they get out quick. He and I did not dwell on it, as when I was young he told me all I needed to know was that they mean no harm. There are still sightings in that area to this very day. Wow. Thanks for joining me. I'm Reverend Jeff, and may the Squatch be with you. All right, folks, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Squatchers Lounge podcast. We will see you all next week. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye. Take care, and may the Squatch be with you.